Let's do that again. Yeah. Hey, it's Rob. We're back in the shop at Biltwell. Got the 03 883 on the lift. Today I'm going to show you how to do a primary service and a clutch adjustment. As always, please refer to your service manual for proper torque specs, procedures, and capacities. The tools you're going to need are pretty basic. 7/8 wrench, 9/16 wrench, 1/2 inch wrench, flat blade screwdriver, T27 Torx, 1/4 inch Allen, 5/32 Allen, 5/8 socket, your driver, your ratchet, some thread sealant, also known as pipe dope, chain case oil for Sportsters, a funnel, a little bit of grease, and don't forget your Harley-Davidson service manual. First thing you're gonna need to do is get the bike properly warmed up. Don't just let it idle on the kickstand. Get out there and take a ride. A couple of miles should be enough. The next step is to drain the primary fluid by removing this bolt. Remember, these fluids are hot, so please be careful. While you're waiting for your primary to fully drain, now is a good time to prep your drain plug for reinstallation. You're gonna see a little bit of shavings on the magnet. You can go ahead and wipe those off. A little bit of shavings is totally normal. If you have big metal chunks, you might have something more to be concerned about. Also, you're going to want to replace this O-ring on the bottom with a new O-ring. It's a little tricky to get it off, but with some patience, it'll come right off. All right, go ahead and give it a nice wipe down. Slide your new O-ring over the top. And something that I like to do is I like to add a little bit of thread sealant. We also call it pipe dope. Just put just a little bit on the threads, just to give a little bit of sealing, better sealing on those threads. Don't need to be liberal, just a little goes a long way. That's plenty. Once the primary is fully drained, go ahead and reinsert your drain plug. Remember not to over tighten this as you are tightening into aluminum. All right. After you got your drain plug back in the primary case, we can move to the next step. We're going to go ahead and break loose the clutch adjuster on the clutch cable. So pull this sleeve up to expose the adjuster. Take a 1/2 inch wrench, put it on the bottom part of the adjuster, 9/16 in the middle one. Break that loose. Slide the adjuster nut, lock nut all the way up, and go ahead and fully collapse your clutch cable by spinning the lower adjuster to where it meets the jam nut. So now your clutch cable is fully collapsed. Now we're going to take the clutch cover off. On a stock Sportster, it comes with Torx head bolts in there. So you're going to want to use a T27 to remove these. You may find on yours might have an Allen socket. Just use the appropriate tool. When you remove this clutch cover, be aware that there's a spring and an adjuster nut in there. Go ahead and pull that out and just place it in the top of your cover. Also, this O-ring, you're going to want to replace this. So go ahead and just pull it out. Before we make the adjustment on the clutch, we're going to want to adjust the primary chain. First thing you're going to want to do is remove this inspection cover. Takes a 5/32 Allen socket. Keep in mind there are O-rings on this bolt. Sometimes they stay in the cover, sometimes they come out with the bolt. This one came out with the bolt. Just slide it back down. Also, there's an O-ring behind this cover. You can see the O-ring stayed on the primary. Let's go ahead and just remove that. Once you have the inspection cover off, you're going to want to check for the free play of your primary chain. It needs to be within 1/4 to 1/2 inch vertical free play. You can see this one is way out of adjustment. So we need to adjust that and make it tighter. To set the adjustment on the primary chain, you're going to need a 7/8 wrench to break the nut loose. And then you're going to take a 1/4 inch Allen and fit it in to the bottom of the thread that nut is attached to. Tightening this stud will tighten your chain. By adjusting that stud on the bottom, it's going to adjust your chain tighter. What you're looking for is about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of free play. That looks good right there, feels good. So now we're going to tighten the jam nut on the adjuster screw. Once you've got your chain where you like it, you're going to need to keep the stud stationary and tighten the jam nut to the case. So the way you do that is insert your Allen, being careful not to move the adjustment screw, and then tighten that jam nut. Once you have that jam nut tightened, recheck the free play of your chain to make sure you didn't move that adjustment. Still within spec, looks good. Please keep in mind that Sportster primaries require a specially blended chain case oil. You can find this oil at your local Harley-Davidson or Harley shop. Okay, just drop a funnel in through the inspection hole, and you're going to want to put in 1 full quart of chain case oil. Now that you've got a full quart of chain case oil in your primary, it's time to close up the inspection cover. Take the O-ring, put it on the lip of the cover, set the cover on, thread in one, and don't forget the O-ring on the inspection cover bolts. Get them both started. Tighten them evenly. Don't over torque these because once again, the threads are aluminum. Now we're going to adjust the clutch. So what you want to do is tighten this adjusting screw, but the threads are left-handed. So you're going to turn it counterclockwise to tighten it. What I do is I turn it a little extra, over tighten it, pull the clutch lever a few times, then I back it off, find complete free play, then turn it counterclockwise till I seat the screw where it's just seated, and then back 1/4 turn. So we're going to go over that one more time. Full free play, just seated, back 1/4 turn. Next, install your lock plate. Then we're going to install a new O-ring. But before we do that, one little trick I like to do is add some grease to 4 corners to help hold the O-ring in place when putting on the clutch cover. You don't need much grease, just a little bit. With your new O-ring, go ahead, set it in place. Make sure the sealing surface of your clutch cover is clean before you install it. While holding the clutch cover against primary, go ahead and start threading in your bolts. Do not crank down one bolt. You want to do them all evenly. Once you've got them all nice and tight, go ahead and just check them. Give them a little extra torque. Once again, remembering that these threads are aluminum, so do not over tighten. Awesome. For the final step, we're going to adjust the cable adjuster to gain the proper free play at the clutch lever. So you're just going to want to spin the adjuster until you start getting, until it starts taking that slack out. And you're going to want to check at the lever. When you're checking the free play, just put a little tension on the cable. You're going to want to look for 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch free play between the perch and the cable. Another good way to think about it is the thickness of a nickel. Once you've got that free play at the correct spot, go ahead and tighten your jam nut against the adjuster block. Hold the adjuster and then just tighten that jam nut on it. And go ahead and slide your boot over the adjuster. That's it. Now you've got a properly adjusted clutch, primary chain, and fluid level. And please remember, dispose of your oil properly.